What if the reason most people stay broke has nothing to do with how much they earn, and everything to do with what they do with it? The ancient city of Babylon produced the wealthiest people in the known world, not because they had more resources, not because they had better land, not because they had more luck. They were rich because they understood a set of simple, repeatable financial laws. Laws that most people today still ignore. And in this video, we are going to break every single one of them down. The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason was first published in 1926 and has never gone out of print. It teaches personal finance through a series of parables set in ancient Babylon, stories about merchants, slaves, lenders, and tradesmen who discovered the same timeless principles about money that still apply today, whether you earn a little or a lot. Most people were never taught how money actually works. They earn, they spend, and they wonder why nothing ever changes. This book cuts through all the complexity. It gives you the fundamentals, not theories, not hacks, but the bedrock habits that separate those who build wealth from those who simply pass money through their hands their entire lives. Here is the central idea the book keeps returning to. Wealth is not an accident. It is not reserved for the lucky, not for the well-connected, or those born into money. It is the predictable, repeatable result of applying a small set of universal financial laws, consistently, patiently, and without exception. The gap between rich and poor, the book argues, is simply a gap in knowledge and discipline, and both of those can be learned. Master cash flow. Everything starts here. Before you can invest, before you can build, before you can think about wealth, you have to control what is already flowing through your hands. Pay yourself first 10%. The foundational rule is deceptively simple. Every time you earn, keep at least 10% for yourself. Before paying anyone else, before rent, before groceries, before any bill. Not after, before. Most people pay everyone else first and save whatever is left over. The problem is, nothing is ever left over. Arkad, the richest man in Babylon, built his entire fortune on this single habit. He started with nothing, no inheritance, no advantage. Just this one decision, a part of all he earned was his to keep. Budget remaining 90%. Once you have set that 10% aside, your job is to build your entire life within the remaining 90%. This means making real choices, not spending first and hoping the math works out. The book is clear. Human desires naturally expand to fill whatever income is available. If you do not actively draw a line, your lifestyle will consume everything you earn, every single time. Demand full value spent. For every coin that leaves your pocket, demand full value in return. Not emotional value, not impulse value, real considered value. A budget is not a punishment. It is a defense system that protects your growing savings from your own casual impulses. And here's the balance Arkad adds. Do not become a miser. Enjoy your life within the 90%. The goal is not deprivation, it is intention. But what happens when you are already behind, when debt is already eating your income, before you even start? Conquer debt. Debt is one of the most psychologically destructive forces in personal finance, not just because of the interest, but because of what it does to your sense of self-worth and possibility. Face debt directly. The book's story of Davasir, a man who fell into slavery partly due to his own poor financial decisions, makes this point sharply. Running from debt does not make it smaller, it makes it permanent. The first step out is simply the decision to face it, own it, and build a plan. 70-10-20 framework. Davasir's plan, recorded on ancient clay tablets, is surprisingly modern. Allocate 70% of income to all living expenses, 10% to savings, non-negotiable even while in debt. and 20% divided equally among creditors. This framework works because it does not ask you to choose between saving and repaying. It forces you to do both simultaneously, which breaks the cycle instead of just delaying it. Borrow productively only. The book draws a sharp distinction between borrowing that builds and borrowing that drains, taking on debt to buy inventory, grow a trade, or acquire a productive asset is fundamentally different from borrowing to consume or speculate. One creates future earning capacity. The other simply moves future income into the present and charges you for the privilege. Once your cash flow is controlled and your debts are shrinking, the next question becomes, what do you do with the savings you are now keeping? Multiply your gold. Saving 10% is not the destination, it is the starting line. The real wealth building begins when that saved money starts earning money of its own. Deploy gold as workers. Arcad describes his savings as an army of golden slaves, each coin working, producing, and sending back more coins. An idle coin sitting in a purse is a worker you are not deploying. Every saved coin should be put into something that generates a reliable return. Reinvest all returns. The book uses a vivid warning: do not eat the children of your savings when your investments generate returns. Reinvesting those returns is what activates compounding, the mathematical process where your money grows, not just on your original capital, but on every previous return as well. The book illustrates this with a farmer who invested 10 silver pieces at birth for his son. By age 50, that had multiplied to 167 pieces through compound growth alone. Build passive income. The ultimate goal is an income stream that flows to you whether you are working or traveling or sleeping. That is the shift from trading time for money to having money work on your behalf. It does not happen overnight, but it begins with the very first reinvested return. But growing wealth also means protecting it, because what you cannot keep, you cannot build on. Guard against loss. The book's most urgent warning is this: it is far easier to lose money than to make it, and the most dangerous losses come not from bad markets, but from bad decisions. Principle safety first. The first law of investment is not to gain, it is not to lose. Arcad's first investment was a complete failure because he handed his savings to a brickmaker who knew nothing about buying jewels. The lesson is not that investment is risky, it is that expertise mismatch and falling for tricksters promising impossible get-rich-quick returns is the most predictable way to destroy capital. Gold, the book warns, flees the man who chases schemes built on greed rather than sound judgment. Lend on character and collateral. If you lend money to anyone, evaluate 3 things. What can they offer as security? Do they have the capacity to repay from their own earnings? And do they have a track record of honoring their obligations? Emotional ties are not criteria. Lending to a friend who cannot repay does not help them. It just transfers their financial problem onto you. Build financial walls. The book uses the image of Babylon's Great Walls as a metaphor for financial protection. Just as those walls shielded citizens from unpredictable external threats, you need insurance, stable reserves, and family provisions built during prosperity, not scrambled together after a crisis arrives. Own your home. Owning your dwelling is both a psychological and a financial milestone. It builds pride and stability, converts a recurring expense into a growing asset, and over time eliminates rent entirely, freeing that income for investment. Protecting what you have is essential, but wealth also requires that you grow the engine producing it, your own earning power. Amplify earning power. Every other principle in this book scales with your income. The larger your income, the larger your 10%, the faster your debt clears, the more your investments compound. Growing what you earn is not optional. It is a multiplier on everything else. Set concrete targets. Vague wishes produce no action. Wanting to be rich someday is not a plan. It is a daydream. The book insists on specificity. Decide on a concrete amount by a concrete point in time through a concrete means. That specificity is what turns desire into direction. Work as best friend. One of the book's most powerful philosophical moments comes from the story of Charunata, a man who embraced hard labor even as a slave and used it to reclaim his freedom, his reputation, and eventually his wealth. The lesson is that work is not just a paycheck mechanism. It is the single most reliable tool for rebuilding self-respect, attracting opportunity, and earning the trust of others. Master your craft. Study those who are better than you at what you do. Adopt their methods. Practice with concentration and persistence. The person who is genuinely excellent at their trade is never without income and rarely without opportunity. And then there is the final layer, the mindset that turns all of this preparation into real results. Cultivate good fortune. Most people think luck is something that happens to you. The book disagrees entirely. Luck favors the prepared. Arcad says it plainly. Opportunity is a goddess who wastes no time with the unprepared. The people who seem consistently lucky are simply the ones who recognized an opening and were ready to walk through it. Preparation is not passive. It is active, ongoing readiness. Act decisively. When a sound opportunity appears, the window is often short. The book tells of men who lost significant wealth because they delayed a single day. Decisive action on a well-reasoned opportunity is not recklessness, it is competence. Crush procrastination. Procrastination is the single greatest destroyer of financial potential in the book's framing. Not bad luck, not lack of talent, the habit of waiting for the right moment, the right amount of information, the right feeling, is what keeps most people permanently on the sidelines. Here are the actions that matter most from this book. Save 10% of every paycheck immediately, before anything else. Build a budget for the remaining 90%, and actually live inside it. If you carry debt, apply the 70-10-20 split. Put every saved coin to work in something reliable, and reinvest the returns. Never chase impossible returns, or trust those who promise easy wealth. Protect your principal above all else. Own your home when you can. Invest in your craft relentlessly, and when a real opportunity appears, move. The richest man in Babylon started with nothing but desire and a single rule. The laws he followed are the same laws available to you right now. Wealth is not waiting for better circumstances, it is waiting for better decisions. And those can start today. Subscribe for more breakdowns like this, and find the book link in the description below.